Lots of years ago, I was in my car. I'm driving in my car, and I hear this story on France Bleu Cotentin. And the story here is that there's a town 80 kilometers to the south of me, which has perhaps the ancestral roots of Walt Disney. And when I heard that, I thought that's really interesting information for me, who has an army of paper soldiers at war with plastic toys, and the majority of the plastic toys are controlled by Disney. That's a nice place. Oh, I like it. Bar next to it. Kebab just down the road. Church en face. Perfect. It was going to be called Le Bataille Disney, but it ended up being called Au Monstre de Disney, which is of the monster of Disney. I was in Disney because of Disney's relationship to Walt Disney. In fact, Disney has the only museum in the world with Disney in the title that's outside of a Disney park, I'm led to believe. And it has that because of this historic link with a knight called Hugues Suard. And Hugues Suard, who was perhaps known to his friends as Hugues de Disney, and his name contracted over the centuries and became Hugues Disney, and his descendants were known as Disney. So I'm in Disney because my toy soldiers are at war with the plastic. My paper soldiers are at war with plastic toys. Most plastic toys are controlled by Disney. Disney has these kind of mythic roots in Disney. So if I can install my army there, I'm kind of capturing the birthplace of the beast, the ancestral mythical birthplace of the beast. Actually, what I was there for is I was launching an assault on Disney, a mythical assault on my imaginary enemy. So that's what I was there for. I was there to launch an assault on Disney. When I say assault, it's not a real assault, it's a pretend assault. It's always a pretend assault. Be careful, I'm an artist, I make pictures, I don't make war. So when I say the word war and battle, these are all metaphors. Complex metaphors because they're well symbolized because I'm using toy soldiers. And toy soldiers kind of look like real soldiers. I mean, just a little bit, because real soldiers are usually, flesh and blood with scars and wounds and guns. And paper soldiers are like little paper soldiers. They just, this is not a pipe, it's a picture of a pipe, is what a certain bloke said at the beginning of the 20th century in relation to pictures and art. And guess this is not a war, it's a picture of a war.
L'été avec le meilleur de l'état gourmande. Je vous invite à un déjeuner. Alors ça se passe sur France. Rendez-vous dès ce week-end entre midi et 13h. Gourmande sur France Bleu. Chaque jour dès midi. Radio partenaire. France Bleu.
My tactic was I had to get to know people. When you have a gallery, it's really difficult to get people to come in, because what is a gallery? People are intimidated and all the rest of it. And I knew that. And I knew I was last year, the year before, I was in a shop where I had like 10-meter frontage and I could open half of it, and I was painting in the window, and the painting in the window really worked to get anybody to approach me. And so my tactic, I realized the shop window was also going to be difficult, so I needed to, so I decided to paint on the street, and that enabled me to meet people from day one. I had people coming up and I was meeting people directly. Think about utter failure. Imagine if I get rejected in this town and they just go, he's crap, I don't like him, I don't like what he's doing, I don't like that picture over there. I think it's horrible. I succeeded and couldn't really fail. In fact, I remember one person. In fact, I remember somebody came in. I hope you succeed or something. She said to me, and I kind of felt it was a bit funny. Like at the beginning, she said, "Oh, bon courage, good luck. I hope you make a success." And I kind of said to her, I'd already a bit explained that I wasn't a business. I was on the street to kind of share my story and put my story out and advance my story. And so I said, "Well, I can't really fail, I don't think, because I'm here." And she was kind of looking at me. She didn't quite get it, but just being there was the success. There was a guy who turned up, and he just didn't like the idea of my project. He said it was impossible what I was doing in Disney. It's impossible for me to do a mythical assault on Disney. And then he said, if you make war, If you're making war on Disney with paper soldiers, I don't make war like that. I don't make war with paper soldiers, and I'll make war on you. And I was kind of really taken aback, and that became a real dilemma for the whole project. So the antagonist became a real person in Izini who wasn't happy with with what I was doing there, and it was very stressful at the time, and it kind of coloured. It gave me a whole kind of I didn't know who he was. It later turns out he was a kind of Parisian guy, and he bought a lot of property in the area, and he was renting it out. And then he said, "Oh, je suis un homme très politique." It turns out he's a kind of right-wing politician from Paris, a Front National politician. So my antagonist wasn't Disney. It was a guy who was kind of, but a guy who apparently, has a restaurant outside Disneyland Paris, so you could see all of his affiliation. Met his wife at Disneyland at the opening of Disneyland Paris. Chose to live in Izini because of its relationship with Disney. Caused his first son Mickey, apparently. So and we associate with these things. So I can kind of understand his position.
Maybe that's what I'm finding. This idea of taking sides, one or the other. Positive, negative on a grand scale. That's what causes war. Even when there's there's nothing between us as human beings, as individuals, but our identities, the identities that we hold based on these mass objects, which enable us to have mass power for sure. But also, the weakness is that if we continue having these mass power conflict, we're finished as a race. And I think that is my line, essentially.